Well, good afternoon, everyone. We have a whole host of people up here. Let me introduce those who are here to show support, but unfortunately, you're not going to be able to listen to them speak, but I'm sure...
Fortunately.
I mean, particularly Marty Markowitz, who has nothing to say. It's going to really hurt you. But anyways, Marty, Mike Nelson, and Councilman Vinny Ignazio is coming, we hope. Debbie Rose is coming, if she's not here. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't say hi. And Senator Andy Lanza is here. And then you're going to hear from Speaker Quinn, David Frankel, our Finance Commissioner, Jimmy Oddo, local City Councilman, Domenic Recchia, City Councilman from Brooklyn, and Jim Molinaro, the great Borough President. I also wanted to start out by thanking Nick Manfredi, who is the owner of this dealership, and his father, who's also here. If you want to buy a car, they are not only giving us their space so that we can have a center where people can come, which I wanted to say thank you to them for, but as a sideline, they make their living by selling automobiles. So if you're interested in that, I'm sure they'd love to talk to you. The subject today is how we're working to help the thousands of New Yorkers still displaced by Hurricane Sandy get back in their homes. And in most cases, that means helping them make repairs that will restore power, heat, and hot water to their homes. And that's why, in cooperation with FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, we've established something which we call our free NYC Rapid Repairs Program. Here's how it works. After registering with FEMA, which you can do right here, homeowners can call, and you can do it also over 311 or over nyc.gov. You can go to any one of our other 6 restoration centers as well, and you sign up for rapid repairs. 6 major construction contractors are participating in rapid repairs. One will send a team to your home and detail the work that needs to be done. If you say yes, they will schedule to have the work done for you at no cost to you. FEMA is going to pay for it. Much to some people that don't quite understand, that money does not come out of any other FEMA program that you might be entitled to. You could qualify for $31,000 worth of aid, but this money doesn't come out of that. It's totally separate, 100% paid for by FEMA. And one of the advantages of having these 6 big contractors is they have access to supplies, boilers, heaters, electric panels from across the country. They can marshal those. They know how to make sure that the work is done properly, and they can make sure that the charges to FEMA are reasonable and fair, which we want to make sure is true because FEMA's money is our money. So all of this works together. There are 100 of these rapid repair teams working each day this week. We're working on 300 different, something like 300 different homes right now because they work part of the day, and if they have to wait for the other tradesperson in their team to do their work, they'll go to another place. They're not just sitting around. We're going to do everything we can to get people back in their homes as quickly as possible. And I did want to thank FEMA and Homeland Security Secretary Janet Napolitano for working with us on this unprecedented approach to post-hurricane recovery. Now, what most places would do is they would just leave it up to you to try to get a plumber, an electrician, or carpenter, and maybe they find a ways to have FEMA pay for it. But you would have the responsibility of finding somebody to come in and do the repairs. As we all know, even in good times, there just don't ever seem to be enough plumbers, carpenters, or electricians around. And certainly in a time like this when many, many people have needs for their services, I think it would be virtually impossible for most people to get somebody in any reasonable time frame. So by us doing it proactively for people, we think we can shorten that time dramatically. Make no mistake about it, there are 10,000 people who have signed up for this program. There may be multiple people in the same apartment building or in the same house, whereas if we fix one, we will automatically take care of the others. But there's an awful lot of people out there who don't have heat, don't have hot water, don't have electricity, and one of the things that we're very concerned about is making sure that they stay safe. Cold weather is here. Cold weather is going to be here even more, and hypothermia is something that is very dangerous. You really can die from exposure to the cold. So we're trying to do everything we can to give people alternative places to stay if they want to, but get them in their homes with services as quickly as possible. Because in the end, that's what most people want. These are people's homes, and they want to be home again, and we're going to do everything we can to make sure that happens. New Yorkers face many more serious problems than just the one I just described. Some have lost their homes, or those homes are damaged beyond any hope of repairs. Others face making difficult decisions about homes that sustained serious structural damage during the storm and that have been red tagged by our building department inspectors. There's something like 700 homes in the city that have a red tag on them. They're just not safe for you to be in. If they are going to fall down on somebody else, then we will take those houses down. Short of that, we will not destroy anybody's house. We will certainly talk to every owner before we do anything. Only if it is a threat to people in the neighborhood or next door or walking by will we take action. But out of the 700 homes, a lot of those homes could be renovated, could be fixed up, but it would be expensive, and they require extensive structural work, and it's not clear what people are going to do with those decisions. Keep in mind that is 700 homes out of something like 65,000 houses that are in the Zone A across this city. We are looking at potentially long periods of displacement, as I talked about, while the homes are rebuilt. We've got to give these people alternatives. That could be in a hotel, which is not optimal because you don't have cooking facilities. It may be a hotel not where you want to live. There are other apartments, but as we all know, in this city, it's a very attractive place to live. Our population's at a record high. There are not lots of empty places for people to go to, and so we're making sure that if you need it, we have a place, and so far we've been able to accommodate that. Our hearts go out to all the New Yorkers who really are suffering. They've gone through a terrible 4.5 weeks. Their stress that they are under is clearly immense. Living without a hot shower, you can probably get one down the street at one of our centers, but in your home, not having a hot shower, having to wear lots of clothes to go to bed to stay warm, not being able to cook, not being able to watch television, read, or do what you want to do. Puts an emotional and a financial burden on people as well. And that's why today Council Speaker Christine Quinn and others on the Council are joining our administration in proposing 2 measures that we think will help people. We know that the relief they'll provide won't make up for all the losses or stresses these homeowners have experienced, but we think they're the right thing to do in helping people get back on their feet. And here are the things. First, we are asking the City Council to join us in giving the homeowners hit hardest by Sandy a 3-month interest-free grace period on their city property tax bills, and that would cover the quarterly and semi-annual property tax bills the city's Department of Finance is scheduled to mail out next Monday on December 3rd. And then after the Council acts, we will send, we're going to just delay sending out bills to these people, and then after the Council acts, we'll send out their bills along with a notification that nothing on them is owed until next April 1st, not January 1st, as is going to be the case for everybody else. Today we'll be deferring just over, with this motion, just over $1.5 million in tax collections, and the average deferral would be about $500 per affected property. Second, we're also jointly asking the State Legislature to grant more extensive tax relief to the hardest hit property owners. We'll request that when the Legislature convenes in January, they pass a law to allow us to send them tax rebates for the current fiscal year. We can't do that on our own. We do need state permission. The value of the rebate will cover the post-hurricane period of the fiscal year and reflect the reduced value of the buildings on the affected properties because of the damage done by the hurricane. We expect there to be fewer than 1,000 of these property owners, and that's smaller than the number getting deferrals because many affected homes in such communities as Breezy Point really are on shared tax lots, but they sustain varying levels of damage. In the 2 most heavily affected boroughs, Staten Island and Queens, where more than 90% of the qualifying properties are located, the rebate checks would typically range from just between $600 to over $700. Let me point out that the Department of Finance is also working hard to make sure that the next round of property tax assessments that they make, which will be completed in January, reflect post-hurricane conditions. I don't know what the effect on property values is going to be any more than anybody else. Clearly, a reminder of just how powerful Mother Nature is something that will give people cause to ponder. But on the other hand, living on the beach is something that people have done around the world from time immemorial. And even after storms, history shows that those places are still very desirable places to live. Before turning things over to our other speakers, I do want to stress that we expect the measures that we're proposing today will have a very small effect on the city's finances. We estimate that in total the rebates will come to something like $760,000. That compares to the $19 billion we collect in property taxes during a fiscal year. And these two tax relief measures will, taken together, provide some help for New Yorkers who really need it and need it now. But for the rest of us, it is not going to require us to change any of our strategies or raise taxes whatsoever. On that note, let me turn the floor over to our wonderful Speaker of the City Council, Christine Quinn. Chris.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I just want to note that Mayor announced the other elected officials with us, but since then, Assemblymember Mike Cusick came in. So I want to thank Mike for joining us. And I just want to first take a moment to thank our Staten Island Borough President, whose borough we're in, for just the amazing job he, along with the rest of our Staten Island delegation, has been doing. So, Jimmy, thank you very, very much for all of your work. And even the other day when I was here, he reminded me that he owes my father 2 dinners now of carbonara here on the island, so we'll make that happen. But I want to thank Mayor Bloomberg and Finance Commissioner Frankel for moving forward on this important proposal and announcement today. I also want to take a moment to particularly thank our City Council Minority Leader, Jimmy Oddo, because Jimmy Oddo really was the person who got this ball rolling by coming to my office and to the mayor's office with the suggestion and the response to what he saw in the field. In the field, he was talking to people who had lost their homes, people whose homes were badly damaged, people who saw their whole lives literally out on the street in front of their homes. And amongst many other things, they were raising with Jimmy and my other colleagues who were standing here how this was going to affect them financially as well as emotionally. And the real fear that as bills were going to come in, they weren't going to have the money to pay them. And these are hardworking people, people who saved and scrimped to buy their homes, people who've probably never missed and couldn't imagine missing a tax bill. It's the kind of thing their parents told them you just can't do. But they were worried that might become a reality for them. And so the idea that Jimmy had that we find a way to waive some people's tax bills altogether, and then the additional idea from the mayor's office of this great grace period is an incredibly smart proposal. It's going to help people. It's going to take that worry out of their mind, which is big in a crisis like this, and it's also going to give them a little bit of extra money, which, as the mayor said, with no real skin off the back of the rest of taxpayers, little extra money they can use to rebuild and put their lives together. So at our next stated council meeting on December 10th, we will take the action to move forward immediately and allow Commissioner Frankel and the Department of Finance to put the grace period in effect. All of us together will go to Albany, and I am very confident get them to act as quickly as possible in the new year on the rebate period. In total, it'll be close to 4,000 different properties, a little over 4,000 different properties, and more than that in the number of New Yorkers who will be helped. There's nothing we can do to bring back everything people lost, but I hope this action shows that the city is thinking creatively, is listening, and trying to do everything we can to make the tough times after Sandy a little easier. And I just want to again thank Mayor Bloomberg and his staff for working so hard to make this a reality, because it's really Commissioner Frankel who's going to have to do it.
So, well, I might as well bring up next the person who has to do it. David Frankel is the city's commissioner of the Department of Finance. They collect taxes for you, but he's a nice guy in spite of that, and he's going to talk a little bit more about the proposed tax relief measures. David, thanks.
Thank you, Mayor and Speaker Quinn, and all the other members of the council and the borough presidents who are here. We've been working at the Department of Finance in the weeks following the storm to determine how we could provide relief to those homeowners who are most severely impacted by the storm. Working with the Mayor's office and with Speaker Quinn and her staff, we were able to determine a course of action we could take to provide some needed assistance. The property tax system in New York City is immensely complex, And I'd like to thank my terrific staff who has worked around the clock for the last several weeks on helping to put this proposal together. This has also been a joint effort with us, with our partners at the Office of Management and Budget, the Department of Buildings, and the Office of Emergency Management. The mayor's described the program in some detail, so let me just say, in addition to this, we are, in addition to what we are announcing today, Finance is working with an eye towards our tentative assessment roll for fiscal year 2014, which starts on July 1st. This roll will be published on January 15th, and the final roll will be published in May. Obviously, Sandy has forced us to examine and, in many cases, re-examine properties in the surge zone to make sure that we are accurately reflecting the current status. In addition to the efforts of our assessors, we are currently developing an application form that will be available both online, in centers like this, and elsewhere, in which you can report to us damage. We want to make sure that next year's assessments reflect the impact of the storm. We are required to value properties as of their condition on January 5th of every year. Generally, that's not a big deal because there aren't that many properties whose condition is changed between August and January 5th. Obviously, this year there's been a change, so we're working very hard on doing that. Anyway, in closing, I want to thank Mayor Bloomberg, all of my colleagues, Speaker Quinn, in particular Chairman Recchia, who we work very close with as chairman of the Finance Committee, and Councilmember Oddo, who always takes a keen interest in property taxes, keen being the key word, and everybody else who's here. Thank you very much.
Get led into the next speaker automatically, Jimmy Oddo. Don't need any more of an introduction than that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good afternoon, everybody. And certainly any afternoon where Mayor Bloomberg, Andy Lanza, and I can agree on any aspect of property taxes is a good one. It hasn't always been the case. I'm not sure what I did early on in life to deserve the blessing, but for 20 years, whenever I pick up a phone and call Christine Quinn, she takes the call and she answers it. And more recent vintage, that has taken the form of emails and text messages. And sometimes when I have ideas or proposals, I get a no. Sometimes I get a hell no. Sometimes I get stronger than that. But most times I get, let's see if we can do it. And the genesis of this, for me, is literally a few weeks ago, Senator Lanza and I, before a meeting, driving in Ocean Breeze in Midland Beach, and coming upon this man, John Toto, who's featured in the front page of today's Staten Island Advance. John lost his restaurant, and 2 structures behind his restaurant was his home that has been destroyed. And there, in the pit in front of his building, he said to Andy and I a litany of challenges he has, and at the end of it, he said, on top of that, I have to pay $13,000 in property taxes. And Andrew looked at me, and I looked at Andrew, and we said we will try to help. And we reached out immediately to Speaker Quinn, and thanks to her wonderful staff, particularly Preston Niblack, have been negotiating with the administration to get us to this point. And I want to say, Mr. Mayor and everyone up here, I am absolutely grateful for the help. But I do want to say that obviously we need to do more. The commercial end of John Toto's problem is still a challenge. That restaurant that suffered $750,000 worth of damage, he has a $13,000 or $14,000 nut that he has to pay. So I think all of us in government have made a commitment to help people any way we can. We're making progress on all fronts. I appreciate Team Staten Island and the wonderful work done with our borough president and all the electeds to help the people of this borough. We know we have lots of other work to do. Some of it's got to come in the form of helping John Toto on the commercial side. But today we'll just express our gratitude in being able to offer some folks who were the most severely impacted by the storm some immediate help. And I'm very grateful, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Jimmy, thank you. Next, Domenic Recchia. He is the chair of the City's Council Finance Committee, and his Coney Island district, as you know, was hit hard by Sandy. Domenic?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And first, this is my first opportunity to be here on Staten Island on official business. I here visiting my mother, who lives a few blocks from here. She had to move out of her house. But I want to thank the wonderful borough president, Jimmy. I don't know how to thank you for the truckloads of food that you sent to Coney Island. You, Jimmy Oddo, Andrew Lanza, someone in Cusick. I want to thank you because we need it in Coney Island, and thank you very much. The only thing I want to add to what the mayor and our great speaker, Christine Quinn, said is that if you're wondering if your property is going to qualify for this, if it's a red tag or gray tag from the buildings department, all right, you definitely qualify for this rebate and this property tax reduction. But if you have any questions, and once you get your tax bill, if your property you feel wasn't assessed, my good friend, Commissioner Frankel, his office does an excellent job, but I'm sure they're going to be overcrowded with phone calls to 311. You could call your local city councilman, or call my office. I'm the finance chairman. My wonderful staff and the leadership of Preston Niblack. We're out there to help all New Yorkers. If you feel your property was not assessed right, or it got destroyed, but it's not reflecting in the tax bill, call us. Believe me, we are out there to help you. We will address it immediately. And as Commissioner Frankel will say, you could always call 311. But sometimes you get a little frustrated, so you could call the City Council, and my office will address these issues. In addition, on behalf of the Borough President, Marty Markowitz, and Mike Nelson from Brighton Beach, who also got destroyed, we want everyone to know that we're all in this together as New Yorkers. We are going to come out of this. We will rise to the top. This is something that no one ever expected, but it's here. And I want to thank Mayor Michael Bloomberg and his entire staff. Mr. Mayor, your staff did an excellent job, because no other mayor was ever confronted with this type of storm. And what your staff has done tremendously. And I just want to, on behalf of all my residents of Coney Island and Seagate and Brighton, we want to thank you and your staff for being there for us. Thank you.
Domenic, thank you. And last, the great borough president of Staten Island. I don't think there's anybody that has worked as hard as he has from before the storm hit right through this minute. He is just tireless. There's no neighborhood in Staten Island he hasn't visited. He probably has shaken the hand of every person on Staten Island at least 4 times in the last 5 weeks. And if he missed you, I apologize. But you're not free. He'll catch you. Jimmy?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And to my good friend, Marty Markowitz, thank you for coming over, and we'll pay the bridge going back. So we're very big-hearted. Well, you've seen and heard a community coming together with innovative ideas and procedures that has made a lot of things possible that didn't exist. They didn't even exist in Katrina. The mayor's rapid repair, the councilman's idea of tax abatement and tax relief. These are all ideas that came together and is making a very, very, very bad situation better. Making it very, very bad better. And, you know, I say the community, but really it's not. Staten Island is not a community. Staten Island is a family. I consider it a family. And if someone is in trouble, whether it be in Tottenville or on the North Shore in Westerly, the community or this family comes together. And it's done it this time, and it's proven it. You know, something happened to us, like Recchia said, that was unexpected, and it will probably go down in history as the largest hurricane that ever hit the United States. It's like Miami getting 45 inches of snow tomorrow morning. They wouldn't know what to do. They wouldn't know where to start. And that's happened to us. But we're recovering, and we're coming back because of people like Jimmy Oddo in the council, the mayor who's been here from day one and has given us the resources. And in fact, this rapid repair, the numbers I got this morning, there's 345 homes as we speak are being given heat and electricity and hot water as we speak on the second day of this project being full blast. And on the tax issue, I left my office this morning with a young couple in their early 20s who lived on Mill Road, and the house was tagged red. And they have a 7-week-old baby, and they're living with their mother. And the first word out of their mouth is, how do we pay our taxes now that we're not in the house? So this is such a great idea, and it's going to help them until they realize that they may want to save the house, they may not want to save the house. And I spoke to the commissioner, he looked it up, and the house is savable. They don't have to tear it down if they don't want to. So there's so many questions. So that's why I'm asking the community this evening, please come to the town meeting to get the real facts of what's available to you, where the help is, and the accurate facts. There'll be people there from FEMA, people from the city, people from the state. There'll be people from every agency to answer questions to help you to get through this terrible, terrible ordeal. So, Mr. Mayor, thank you for what you have done. Thank you for this idea of rapid repairs. It gives people the comfort of having a warm house and hot water and the security of being in their own place. So thank you, and God bless you.
Two things. Number one, I think it probably was Kaz Holloway that came up with the idea. He deserves the credit. And number two, for those of you that don't know what the borough president said when he talked about the offering to pay the toll to go back to Brooklyn for Marty Markowitz, we only collect the toll in one direction.
I didn't know that. I'm sorry.
And it's not the direction going back. Let me just summarize for our Spanish-speaking New Yorkers. Estamos proponiendo nuevas leyes para proveer ayuda con impuestos sobre la propiedad para los neoyorquinos cuyas casas fueron dañadas por el huracán Sandy. And with that, we'll be happy.